Alright, hello. Are you ready? Because I'm not sure that I am. Today's video is going to be about Etsy's recent update, and I know it's been done, but I wanted to sit with it for a little bit and let it schmooze. But I'm not going to cover it in great detail, and my thoughts are going to be all over the damn place. I did try to sort of, make notes and make them into some sort of sense, but you're getting what you're getting, and what you're getting is gonna be chaos. But boy do I have thoughts. Okay, right, are you ready? Grab yourself a brew and strap yourselves in. Okay, so recently Etsy had their what was it, their Q1 financial report, whatever they call it. It was a thing, and there was some interesting things said. I'm going to be brutally honest, a lot of what was said through most of the presentation went woo, as it often does. It's the question and answer bit at the end that things start to get a little bit juicy. Somebody said, and I've written things down because, my memory, someone asked or pointed out that for the last 12 quarters in a row, sellers on the platform have outgrown buyers. And they were asking if that was making it tougher for Etsy to improve search. And Joshua's answer was like, oh, sublime. I know, it's not often that I'm all for Etsy, but I do try to balance it out by giving them credit where credit is due. And I was a fan of his answer, which was essentially taking aim at people with, how did he put it? Let's have a look. Well, he started by acknowledging that there were a lot of sellers and a lot of inventory on the platform. And he made mention to low effort sellers without the will or the skill. I'm paraphrasing. How did he say it? Something about sellers who may not have the skill or the will. Either way, it was like, although I shouldn't give them too much credit because they did create this problem that has attracted all of these sellers. So, just saying. Anywho, they are clearly on it. They recognise the problem and they have got plans in place to sort that out. Some of the wording that they used was really interesting. They were talking about how they want to make things better at finding the good stuff, and the words that were used were suppressing or not uploading the stuff that's lower quality. And what they meant by not uploading stuff, I believe, is that when they're pulling up the items for a search result, they're just not throwing up the items that are they consider to be lower quality. Suppressing. So they're clearly working towards getting things of a certain quality and making them the top search results. So I think what they're doing is acknowledging the fact that you can't get rid of the rubbish on Etsy, which is fair enough. I think we can all agree that once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in, and there's toothpaste everywhere. I've said that before. But they were talking a lot about how there's an awful lot of stuff on the site that looks very samey. Another interesting thing that Josh said was, and I'm going to read, when you search for something, we usually have thousands and in fact often tens of thousands of relevant results, and the first page of search results might be 30 things that look very, very similar. Correct. And to a buyer, that's just a lot of cognitive load. It is. And this is what I'm saying. Etsy have twigged that their platform now is not just awash with low quality rubbish. I'm trying so hard. But they have twigged finally to the fact that a lot of the stuff is very, very samey, and it's having an impact on the platform and sales. Which, let's be honest, in this economic climate, people have less money to spend. So it doesn't get spread around as much, so we have to work harder to get people to buy with us. And that's where Etsy's like, okay, now we have to fix this problem. Yeah, they're not doing it for us, but again, I don't mind about their why. The fact that they seem to be serious about it is enough for me. I'll take it. This is where I was just like, I've been saying this for years. And what I've been saying is when you go to look at your competition, you want to do different. How many times have I said that? The thing is that when you go to your competition, you identify what's working for them and you copy them, you're just becoming an echo. another one. And that's been the problem on the platform, because it's not just one or two people, it's thousands. If anybody's familiar with Seth Godin's theory of the purple cow, it's essentially the whole field turning into a field of purple cows. But the whole point of that particular theory is that it's the one that stands out that gets noticed. But everybody's trying to stand out by copying how somebody else stood out, and that makes no freaking sense. But because Etsy is now going, right, everybody's looking the same, it's all the same dross, and they're using words like suppressing, it has never been as important as it is now to stand out. And I'm not talking about keywords. Nobody owns keywords unless they're, as I've said before, trademarked or what have you, in which case you shouldn't be touching them anyway. But that's by the by. I'm talking about products. I'm talking about going to see what your competition is doing and literally filtering all of their ideas and designs and products and just sort of changing them a little bit and thinking to yourself, there you go, now I'm not copying. And it's going to be detrimental, because this is what Etsy is now saying they don't want. This is now what Etsy is considering lower quality. You want to be higher quality. And that's not all I picked up from this. Oh no, there was something else, which may or may not be a thing, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, just because it interested me and I thought it might interest you too. It was back when Josh was talking about the low skill, low will sellers again. And it was this sentence that caught my attention. And so having a group of sellers that have higher skill and higher will, these are the sellers that I think are most likely to succeed on the platform anyway. It was the word group that caught my attention. Why? Because it immediately made me think of gift mode. They are pushing gift mode hard. They are going to continue to push gift mode hard. And anybody watching this who has studied gift mode might already know where I'm going with this. It's amazing in the way that they've managed to create categories of different sort of forms of gifts. I'm a big fan of the way it looks. I like it. I know a lot of people have come out and said that they don't like it. I do. I can't help it. It's satisfying to me. What has been more frustrating though is that if you go into certain categories, if you drill down, you will start to see the same people, the same sellers appearing all the time. Occasionally the items will change, but it's the same sellers over and over and over again. One might even say a certain group of sellers. And it did make me wonder if they have perhaps programmed an algorithm to identify a group of sellers in each category that match whatever criteria that they've set, and these are the sellers that they deem to be higher quality, higher skill, that they want to push out to the people through gift mode. Now, I'm not saying that that's what they've done. I don't work for Etsy. I have no clue. I'm just saying, it was just the word group. To have a group of sellers, because there's so many of us on the platform. They said themselves there's thousands of items for every search, sometimes tens of thousands. Think of how many sellers are behind those thousands upon thousands of items. So to say a group of sellers sounds smaller. Like I said, could mean nothing, but it just seemed a very strange choice of words. And I'll leave it there. Now that she's stirred the pot, she's gonna f*** off. Now I will say, take that with a massive bucket of salt. That could just be me looking way too much into it. But it certainly would make sense. And I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't even be mad about it if that was how it was working. Anything that can just lift the quality of the products that people see when they search for something on the site can only be a good thing for all handmade sellers all round, regardless of whether our items are picked for gift mode or not, as the case may be. Now, I don't know if anyone from Etsy ever pays attention to us YouTubers who talk about the platform here on this platform, but I'm just gonna try my luck here. If there is anybody from Etsy watching this, I am begging you, please can we have separate categories for handmade, print on demand, digital, whatever. I know that we've already got categories for vintage and for supplies and for handmade, so I know you can do it. Please, Josh, Joshua, hi, please. Can you do Handmade sellers a solid, and can we have this? Again, I know you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but you can organise it. Okay, I realise I've just made an analogy that makes no sense. You can't really organise toothpaste, or can you? Maybe you can with specific categories. I have added this to feedback, I have added this to surveys that I've submitted. This is different to this. Same design, but this is handmade and this is print on demand. Please, as a handmade seller who sells both, can we have different categories? Because you want help to separate the dross from the great stuff. This will help. Oh, okay, right. No one from Etsy is going to see that. But if you fellow handmade sellers have any feedback to give Etsy, if you get sent a survey, because they do send those out periodically, perhaps ask them. Ask them in that for separate categories, because I genuinely believe that this is going to be so helpful, not just to us sellers, but to buyers, to help them find the things that they want, and to Etsy as a result, and their bottom line, which, let's be honest, is what Etsy's concerned about. But if you're a handmade seller and you want to know what's working on Etsy right now, or what is going to be working in the future, it's going to be to stand out. So if there are any of you who look around your competition to be inspired, now would be a good time to stop doing that. And if you are a fellow YouTuber who talks about this sort of thing, now would be a good time to stop telling people to do that. Just saying. It's crap advice, and it always has been. But now, even Etsy have brought out changes that hammer this home. So yes, I do get to say I told you so, and I do get to say I've been saying this for years, because I've been saying this for years. Right, I feel better now that I've got that off my chest. I did warn you that this was going to be a chaotic one. If you're a handmade seller and you've been struggling on Etsy, just know it's not you. We all have. The economy, again, this is something that I've been saying since May 2022. I remember I made a video where I said I could see this coming, and the amount of flack I got for it from people saying that I was making doom and gloomy videos. Well, no, I just paid attention to the news. No crystal ball necessary. But this year, 2024, I can't speak for the US, I don't know. I've just been paying attention to what's supposed to happen here in the UK. We're supposed to be creeping on out of it, but it's still going to be a tricky year, and that's playing out. My sales this year have been better than this time last year, but things are still tricky. But I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I wanted to put that in this video because while it's one thing to point out the negative all the time, but I think it's only worthwhile doing that if you are also going to balance it out with a positive. So yes, Etsy's feeling the pinch as well. And if they're feeling the pinch as well, it's not just you. And if you did want another way to stand out, then I obviously would recommend YouTube for your handmade business. And of course, I have a Patreon where I help people do just that. I had to stick that in there because that's part of being a business person. Sorry, but don't worry, I did leave it at the end for a reason. Okay, I will leave you now. Thanks for watching this nonsense, and I will see you for more of it, perhaps, I hope, next week. Ta-ra.